as a veteran, small business owner, what can we do for you?
What we can all do for all veteran business owners is promote each other.
My main mission was to look at tools of technology to leverage small business and give them more of a competitive advantage.
My mission for Veteran Bargains is very simple: to help vets.
That story in itself, to run for Vista City Council, is a journey.
I think this is an opportunity to really collaborate with those gone before us.
It's really kind of a labor of love.
And now your host.
Well, welcome everyone to the National Veterans Radio Show. We run this show every Friday at 1 p.m. And today we have a special show. We have a panel of experts in the veteran community, as we will be discussing and sharing ideas about the veteran medical identifier bracelet, how this idea came about, how this benefits, how you can get involved, and how you can participate and support the project. But first, I would like to introduce our panel. I will start with Nicci. Tell us who you are, just a quick introduction, and also what you do. I think Nicci cannot hear us. Why don't we start with you, Scott?
Okay. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Joe. It's great to be connected with you and Nicci and talk about these really important PTSD issues with our veteran community. I spent over 20 years in military and federal law enforcement before I went to the private sector, and now I'm a veteran-owned small business owner in Phoenix, Arizona, and passionate about helping veterans. Excellent.
Well, thank you for joining us today on this panel and this very important project that the National Veteran Chamber of Commerce has basically is excited about hosting, launching, and be able to support veterans and also collaborate with first responders, firefighters, police, all the agencies that come forward when an incident happens. So just to give you an idea, Scott, the project came about really by accident. And I was talking to a veteran that we were supporting, that we were helping. So when we went to visit her home to give her support, so there were some of us there, and she was having some medical problems, PTSD related, and she was sharing with us how, in a situation at the mall, she basically was just feeling that the walls were closing in. She didn't know why, and it was just a horrible situation. And so she has started kind of like reacting to that, and but people around her didn't really understand what was going on. And so, of course, but so I asked her, so what do you have to tell people that you are going through an episode, whether it's PTSD, anxiety, or anything like that? What do you have to identify yourself for that? Do you have anything? And she says, no, nothing. So that really does with the idea of the project of the Veteran Medical Identifier was born. The idea of creating a simple but practical way to let people know that if you're wearing this, that tells the first responders, whether it's medics, firefighters, police, that this individual, one, is a veteran, two, has some medical condition, and that there is additional information available to the first responders so they understand what type of condition. So the project started very simple. We got donated, sponsored our first 500 bracelets. Our goal is to reach, 1,000 by the end of the year. So, in order to do this, we wanted to bring awareness to the project. And that's when I talked to Nicci, I talked to you, Scott, and we are now here on this panel on talking about how to make this available, create awareness, connect with the agencies, connect with the veteran groups to make this happen. So with that, I would like to start with, if okay with you, Scott, I would like to start with Nicci. And Nicci, from the agency perspective, you've been in military police and having in that environment, and how would this benefit a first responder when they see the bracelet on someone?
Right. Thank you, Joe. So, as it was stated earlier, I am a former military police officer with the United States Army. I served in Iraq for Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003. We were there right there at the height of the war as a military police officer. And of course, coming back home after a war environment, you do go through a lot of mental challenges, as Joe stated, PTSD, TBI, anxiety. You do have episodes because your brain doesn't want to shut off from a war zone once you get back home. So having a very simple and practical way, as you stated, the veteran medical identifier bracelet, to be able to identify a veteran who may be going through a situation where they may need medical attention, where there may be a situation where it could be stated that the veteran is acting out. And when medical first responders respond, once they see this orange bracelet on a veteran, they are able to assess the situation properly without even knowing what the situation is. As a military police officer, period, when you get a phone call to respond to a situation, you don't know what you're going into. You have no idea until you can get there and assess the situation. But if the first responder, military police shows up and automatically starts to see this orange bracelet, you can then start to identify, okay, this is a veteran. We can now handle this situation from a veteran's standpoint, almost instead of a criminal standpoint from the beginning. Not saying that there may not be criminal activity involved, but what I'm saying is this will alert the first responders to then shift their mindset. This is a veteran. Let's see what the entire situation is, because this could be a situation where we could respond and then have someone else of medical attention instead of, force attention.
Yes, thank you. And that's really how the mindset of the project came from. And now from the other side, on the receiver side as a veteran, Scott, will you give us some insight? How would this benefit from your perspective?
Yeah, I think this is so important because when folks leave the military, we take our uniform off and we try to blend back in with society. And we don't always have some outward sign that we're a veteran. And I would think in society, many veterans have underlying mental health conditions because of some of the things that we've done. And when we go back into society, nobody knows maybe who we are if they encounter a veteran on the street, or if you, to Nicci's point, you get that call for service as law enforcement. They don't know what's going on necessarily. They just hear some unknown trouble, and they respond how they're met sometimes, and that's not always a proactive way. Law enforcement has come a long way in the last several years to try and mitigate these responses. And I think the any kind of identification that a veteran can wear that helps society understand maybe they're going through something difficult, or maybe they should be more aware, or people should be more aware when they're around a veteran or somebody who has veteran experience that they're going to encounter some challenges. Certain stressors will cause veterans to react in certain ways. And I think we've all seen, you could just go to any social media and you'll see all kinds of things where veteran is responding in what society perceives as a negative way, but nobody understands why. And the bracelet, I think, is a great indicator for specifically law enforcement. But if law enforcement see that, then maybe they can engage mental health services or social services rather than being the forefront of like, hey, we're trying to stop this problem, or what they perceive as a problem. And it just brings in different resources, which is so much more important. We get the right resources to the veteran or the person in crisis. That's the priority.
And I totally agree. And because the moment you respond, wherever the situation, providing the right resources to the right situation is critical. One of our goals in this project, as Nicci and I talk about multiple times, is to also invite the agencies, the first responder agencies from the beginning, to have someone who is prepared, or a team of prepared first responders, mental health responders, veteran responders, so because they understand, as you know, as veterans, we understand kind of each other, right. So that makes it easier for that. Any thoughts on that, Nicci? You want to expand on that?
Yeah, definitely. It's all about creating, as you said in the beginning, awareness. And once we can create awareness when it comes to first responder situation, we can then start to create awareness of how a veteran is even wired. Just as simple as, maybe going to a restaurant and the waitress wants to sit them in one spot, not knowing that veteran does not want to have his or her back to the door, that be able to face the door so they can assess the situation on if an altercation were to break out. So learning how a veteran is wired and how we tick will go a long way in acclimating everyone in society to be able to be on one page and on one accord, not only in a medical acting out situation, but just understanding veterans as a whole.
Yes, and I totally agree. And this also puts a lot of accountability and responsibility to us as veterans individually, because no one is forcing anyone to wear it, but it's an accountability, that says I want to, I want to be able to self-identify, be able to help those who come into helping in a situation. So it's not just putting the responsibility on society, but also the responsibility and accountability on myself. So, yes.
Right. And it's also allowing the veteran to say, hey, I've served my country. I'm here. I may still have some challenges, but I'm here and I'm proud to have served my country. And I just want others to understand me.
Correct. Any other? I know you have a lot of experience on both sides, Scott. Would you like to share some of your experiences as well?
Yeah, I've had personal experiences with folks in crisis. Actually, recently, working with somebody who in a driving under the influence situation. And the way I identified that he was a veteran was by his shoes. So imagine if I had the bracelet, or if he was wearing the bracelet, that would be so much more expedient. But it wasn't until the end of our encounter that I saw his shoes, and he was wearing a certain pair of shoes that many veterans wear. In the Navy SEAL community, they know what Chucks are. They were similar to those. These are shoes that people wear under their swim fins when they're deployed. And I noticed he was wearing a similar pair of shoes, and I asked him about that. And so I was able to then go, oh, okay, hey, now I can engage you veteran to veteran. And because you don't, like I was saying earlier, unless you have a tattoo or you're wearing a polo shirt that's, identifies your unit or where you were from. A lot of people don't realize who they might be dealing with. Now, veterans, we're really good at kind of sniffing each other out and seeing each other across the room, be like, the way their facing the door. Nicci nailed it. I was laughing as you were saying that. But that's the reality, right? We position ourselves in a social environment way different than our civilian counterparts. And sometimes we can pick that up, but there are other times that maybe we don't. And, and I think, Joe, to your point about society, one, we give veterans agency. Generationally, veterans from Vietnam, Korean War are different than veterans from this current conflict, as Nicci knows way better than even I do. But we've been at war for now 20 years. I know we're leaving Afghanistan and we're leaving Iraq, so on and so forth. But we've been at war longer than any time in American history. So we have several generations now of veterans. So we have veterans that were Cold Warriors who also served in Afghanistan in maybe a different capacity, and now maybe even served in the current Afghan war. And we've got just several generations. We're going to need to give all those generations agency to say that it's okay, because these mental health conditions are not historically, what do we call that? Shell shock, right? Going way back to World War I. Oh, they're just stressed out. Go rest, get out of the war zone for a little bit. You come back, you'll be okay. But what we know with science is that this oftentimes is caused by our experiences in the military, and it stays with us. The way I describe it to people is it's like a cup. Everybody's got a different size cup, and sometimes that cup overflows. Right. And I think through our lives, that comes and goes. It comes and goes with other stressors, right? But it doesn't ever go away. Back to, maybe before you joined the military. So one, we want to give our fellow veterans agency, and two, we want society to understand this is what those folks look like. This is them in crisis, and that it's not something they want to share necessarily. It's not something a conversation that they want to have. But just the mere act of seeing that should tell people, I need to maybe have a different approach with this person. Not because you're scared of them, but because you care about them. Because we all care about each other, right? As all humans should care about all humans. Right. Veterans have different experience. The bracelet shows that and demonstrates that.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point, Scott.
Right.
Anything you would like to add?
That's so true.
Nicci?
And we tend to avoid those things that we don't understand. Definitely. We tend to avoid people or situations and circumstances that we don't understand. And as Chris's point, the more we can create this awareness, the more that we can, let veterans know that, hey, it's okay to speak up and speak out. It's okay to say, hey, I fought for my country. I'm not the same. I'm not the same person, and I came home with this situation or that situation. I don't necessarily identify that, but I still have those situations, as Chris said. The cup may go up or down, but it never goes away. And as the community gets more and more involved and gets more and more aware, they can start to maybe see a veteran out at a baseball game or out at a park. And, when we were in uniform and we stepped out to go to the grocery store, civilian wear, a lot of people would talk to you because they could identify you. Hey, thank you for your service. Hey, have a good day. Or, hey, how are you? Or, hey, they would spark conversations with you. But now, since they can't identify you, those conversations aren't being sparked. And maybe that veteran needed a smiling face that day. Maybe needed to be recognized. Maybe we needed someone to say, hey, thank you for your service. I appreciate you. And with this bracelet, those conversations can start to take place in our community, in the marketplace. Those veterans can be identified, and they will now start to speak up and say, hey, I'm going to wear this bracelet like I served my country proudly.
Excellent. Yes, totally agree. And so now, before, and I told you from the beginning, this show goes really fast. So it's now time for us to tell the audience how to participate on this. And there's two different type of audiences that we want to approach. Of course, the general public, we want to, kind of bring awareness about the identifier. So we start that conversation. But also we want to communicate with the first responder groups all the first responders, the medical, the firefighters, the police, and bring this conversation to the forefront at their locations, at their meetings, at their academies. I think, and that's one of the things that Nicci and I were talking about, and now with you, Scott, is that I think from the beginning, bringing this type of curriculum to the academy is important, and bringing the mindset of this is a situation that is a may go one way or the other. How do you make it positive? How do we help? So coming from that mindset rather than a different mindset is very important. So of course, our overall objective is to be part of those academies, be part of the departments as they are presenting their professional development. So, but we want to get more officers involved, more veterans involved, more agencies involved. We want to get the VA involved. So all that is part of this project. That is that's our overall project. So how do people connect with us here? I know
Definitely, as
Nicci?
Joe mentioned, all the groups. We want everyone to be involved, no matter what your stance is, community, veterans, first responders. We want everyone involved in becoming more aware and connecting with the project, with the Veterans Medical Identifier bracelet. For more information, to get involved, to help create awareness, and to also even have your bracelet mailed to you, please reach out to me at info@niccidougherty.com. That's info@niccidougherty.com. The information is on the screen. And we want us all just to come together and better serve our veteran community by creating that awareness and by connecting. So please make sure to email me, get involved, connect. Let's create that awareness, and let's all come together as one.
Thank you, Nicci. Any closing comments, Scott?
Only that this has to be a community engagement. But no one person or one organization can do this. This is really going to take everybody in our communities across the United States and around the world. We have some of the largest veteran expatriates that live in Germany. We need to expand on these concepts and like Nicci said, drive the conversation.
Yes, and that's an excellent point, because nowadays we really don't have boundaries, and we do have a lot of veterans represent, they are living somewhere else. So like you said, Germany, a lot of people in Japan, the Philippines, Latin America. So making this available to that, and of course, everything in life requires some type of funding. And initially, the pilot project was funded 100% by the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce, but we also want to invite other sponsors, people who can understand the concept, the project, and be able to, because we want to mail those bracelets. We want to make sure that that's possible for anyone who wants them. So thank you both. This is our first conversation. We'll have a few more, but most importantly, we want to build the team, get bigger and bigger, so all the communities become more involved and more connected.
Right.
So thank you, Nicci. Thank you, Scott, and look forward to our next session.
Thank you both.
Sounds great. Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for